Every leader, I think, everyone really knows that feeling, right?
Mm.
That quiet dread when there's conflict brewing in a team, an organization, even, families.
Oh, absolutely. It's that heavy silence, that tension you can almost taste. It just drains the energy out of the room, out of relationships.
And it feels like failure, doesn't it? Like something's fundamentally broken if people are disagreeing.
Well, that assumption, that's exactly what we're digging into today. We've pulled together a whole stack of sources, blending organizational thinking with some really deep wisdom traditions.
And the mission here.
The mission is to completely reframe how you see disagreement, to help you move from, dreading it to actually using it, seeing it as a pathway to build stronger teams, stronger connections.
Okay, so the core idea, the big thesis from all this material, is pretty counterintuitive. It's basically saying the health of a group isn't measured by no conflict.
Right, not at all. It's measured purely by how you navigate the conflict when it inevitably shows up.
Conflict isn't failure. It's actually what evidence that people care, that they're passionate.
Exactly. If people stop disagreeing, it might mean they've stopped caring. So in that sense, silence, that unaddressed tension, that's the real enemy of unity, not the argument itself.
All right, let's unpack that. A mindset shift.
Yeah.
You said the sources call conflict a feature, not a flaw.
Yeah, that's the phrase they keep using. Feature, not a flaw.
Yeah, it's a tough sell. I think most people would happily uninstall that feature if they could. How can arguing possibly be an asset?
Well, think of it like a forge. When you handle it constructively, it does essential work. It brings hidden issues to the surface, exposes blind spots we all have,
Okay.
and it sharpens the group's vision, forces clarity. It provides the heat needed to actually forge stronger relationships, stronger unity. But, you have to look deeper.
Deeper than the surface argument. Like, it's not really about the budget deadline or who left the coffee pot empty.
Rarely. The sources trace the root cause way back to this fundamental human tendency towards, well, blame, shame, protecting ourselves. Some wisdom texts call it a relational rupture.
So the fight about the report formatting is actually masking something else.
Often, yeah. It's a symptom of deeper things kicking in. Brain fear, fear of looking bad, defending our identity, assuming there's not enough credit or resources to go around that scarcity thinking. We stop problem solving and start self-protecting.
Which is why the same arguments happen over and over.
Precisely. So if tension is basically guaranteed, the real skill becomes discernment, telling the difference between the useful kind of tension and the destructive kind.
Okay, break that down. Productive versus destructive.
Productive tension. That's the honest disagreement that pushes towards better understanding, towards clarity. The sources call it sacred soil. You go into it expecting to learn with some humility.
And destructive.
That's different. That's things like abuse, deliberate deception, someone acting in bad faith, causing harm and refusing to change. Productive tension needs courage to engage. Destructive conflict often needs clear boundaries, protection, and sometimes, separation.
And handling the productive kind well,
Yeah.
that actually serves the mission. It's not a distraction from it.
That's the connection they make. Engaging in that hard work of reconciliation isn't taking time away from the real work. It's actually part of building something that lasts, something stronger.
Okay, I'm starting to see the mindset shift. Conflict is inevitable, maybe even useful, but how do we actually do it? How do we build, the container to hold that tension safely? Because unity definitely doesn't just happen by accident.
You're absolutely right. It has to be intentional, needs strategy, wisdom. And the sources offer this really powerful image, the woven cord. It's from Ecclesiastes.
The threefold cord.
Exactly. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. The idea is that real, resilient unity isn't about everyone being the same, thinking the same. It's not uniformity.
It's more like weaving different threads together, even threads that seem to clash.
Precisely. It's the intentional weaving of distinct, different strands that makes the cord strong.
So what are those strands? What are the core things we need to weave together for real reconciliation?
The framework linked out 3 essential strands. The first one is truth, and that means clarity and courage.
Okay, truth. What does that look like in practice during a conflict?
2 key things. First, get ruthless clarity on what's really core, your non-negotiables, the mission essentials versus what's just, a preference or a secondary issue.
And the second part of truth.
This is critical. You have to learn to distinguish observable behavior, what actually happened, from your interpretation or the story you tell yourself about it.
That's where it usually goes off the rails, isn't it? We lead with our interpretation, which just sounds like an attack.
Exactly. Like, instead of saying, you never respect our time, which is an interpretation and guarantees defensiveness,
Right.
you state the observable fact. Hey, the last 3 team meetings, you arrived about 15 minutes late. See the difference? One is a factual starting point for dialogue.
The other just starts a fight. Okay, so nail down the facts. That's the truth strand. What's strand number 2?
Strand 2 is love, which here means prioritizing the relationship itself, the connection, over the immediate need to win the argument or be proven right.
Easier said than done sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. It means really practicing listening differently, not listening to find flaws in their argument or gather ammo for your rebuttal.
But listening to actually understand. Maybe even be changed by what you hear.
That's the goal. Listening to be changed. You have to actively signal, our relationship matters more to me than winning this point.
Okay, truth and love. They sound good, noble even. But how do we keep them from just being nice ideas we talk about? How do we make them, like, real when things get heated?
That brings us to the third strand, and honestly, it's often the toughest, especially for leaders. It's humility and repentance.
The risk strand, you called it earlier.
Yeah, because it requires genuine vulnerability. Leaders have to model this. It means owning your piece of the mess. How did you contribute?
That takes guts to admit you weren't perfect either.
It does, and it breaks that cycle of pride and blame. But it needs to be specific, not just a vague sorry. It's about using I statements connected to concrete behavior. Like, I realized that when I didn't get you the figures beforehand, that added to the stress around the deadline.
So owning your specific part, that's powerful. It invites the other person to do the same, maybe?
It can, yes. And it underscores that reconciliation needs tangible actions, real repair, not just words.
Okay, so we have the relational framework. Truth, love, humility. But we still have the issue itself. How do we figure out if we're fighting over something fundamental or, the proverbial color of the carpet? How do we triage the disagreement?
Great question. Because if you treat a carpet color issue like a core belief issue, you're sunk. We need a classification system, what the sources call dispute triage. It's based on that idea from Romans 14 about disputable matters.
Okay, so categories, what are they?
3 main buckets. First, essentials. These are the absolute non-negotiables, the core doctrines, the fundamental mission tenets. Compromise here, and you basically cease to be who you say you are.
Got it. Bedrock stuff. What's next?
Second, convictions. These are still really important. They're weighty positions that shape how you operate governance, key practices, deeply held moral stances. Think things like leadership structures, major policy decisions. They matter a lot, but maybe aren't existential like the essentials.
Right. Important, but maybe some room for disagreement within the broader community. And the third bucket, the one that probably causes the most unnecessary friction.
Exactly. Preferences, or the fancy term is adiaphora, the gray zones, these are the genuinely disputable matters where good people can differ.
Like worship styles, or what project management tool to use,
Or, yeah, specific timelines for future events, things like that. And the rule here, the sources are adamant. In the gray zone, the principle is liberty exercised in love and conscience. You don't make your preference a test of faithfulness or belonging. You avoid causing others to stumble over something non-essential.
That classification feels really crucial before you even try to resolve anything. Which leads us to the practical playbook. You mentioned Matthew 18 earlier, framed as a kind of relational triage.
Yeah, it's presented as this sequential pastoral process. The whole design is aimed at protecting dignity while pursuing restoration. The goal is always to win your brother or sister back, not to win the argument.
And it's graduated? Steps.
Crucially, yes.
Yeah.
Step 1 must be private. Just you and the other person, one-on-one.
Why is that non-negotiable?
Because it protects their dignity. It prevents public shame from immediately triggering defensiveness, going straight to others, or airing it publicly first. It basically guarantees the conversation fails and fractures trust, maybe permanently.
Okay, so start private, and the sources give that script for the courageous conversation. It weaves together those 3 strands we talked about.
Exactly. It turns truth, love, and humility into concrete steps. You start with affirmation, anchoring the relationship. Something like, I really value our working relationship, and because I care about it, I wanted to talk about something.
So it's a different tone right away. Then what?
Then, the specific, observable fact, the truth piece. Last Tuesday in the budget meeting, when I brought up the timeline concern, you interrupted me twice. Clear, factual.
Okay.
Next, name the impact on you. Use an I statement. When that happened, I felt kind of marginalized, like my point wasn't heard.
Owning your feeling, not accusing them of intending harm.
Right. And then, crucially, the humility piece. Own your part if there is one. I also realized I hadn't sent the updated figures beforehand, and I know that probably added to the pressure.
Takes the sting out, shows self-awareness.
And finally,
A concrete, future-oriented request. Going forward, would you be willing to let me finish my thought on those points before jumping in? It's specific, actionable.
that whole script feels so much more constructive than, just fuming or talking behind their back.
Mm.
But what if it doesn't work? What if that private conversation fails, they get defensive, they deny, whatever?
That's when you move carefully to step 2. Bring witnesses. You invite 1 or 2 trusted neutral people. And the key word is neutral.
Not your friends who will automatically take your side. Definitely not. They aren't there as a jury to declare a winner. They're there as servants of truth and mercy. Their job is to help ensure everyone feels heard, to maybe reflect back what they're hearing, and to help guide towards repair. They model fairness.
And if even that doesn't lead to resolution or repentance.
Only then, as a last resort, do you move to step 3. Tell it to the church or, the relevant leadership body or community. And even then, the ultimate goal, according to the sources, remains restoration. It's a communal appeal to hopefully bring about repentance, not primarily about punishment or public shaming.
Okay, that sequence makes sense. Protect dignity, escalate carefully, always aiming for repair. Now, shifting gears a bit, we talk a lot about fights between people, but sometimes the conflict feels baked into the system, like structural.
Oh, absolutely. That happens all the time. A classic example is the visionary versus the manager clash.
I think I know these people.
Right. Let's call them Pastor Sam, the visionary, always dreaming big, pushing for the new thing, focused on meaning and possibility. And then there's Maya, the manager, focused on systems, details, safety, operational excellence, making sure the trains run on time.
And Sam thinks Maya is like the dream killer who's always pointing out risks.
Exactly. And Maya thinks Sam is reckless, maybe irresponsible, doesn't appreciate the infrastructure needed to actually do the big dream safely.
And the conflict just gets worse over time.
It hardens, often because their roles aren't clearly defined and their personal identities get completely wrapped up in their style. Sam feels personally attacked when Maya does risk assessment. Maya feels dismissed when Sam overrides her concerns.
And the team gets stuck, probably stops bringing new ideas because they know the dynamic.
Precisely. The problem isn't necessarily their hearts or that one is right and one is wrong. It's often organizational fuzziness. Their lanes aren't clear.
So how do you fix that? You need both the visionary and the manager. You can't just fire one.
Right. You need structure. Beyond just calling them to mutual humility, which is necessary, you need clear governance tools. Things like an alignment agreement that clarifies shared goals, a role charter that defines responsibilities,
Okay.
and maybe most importantly, a decision rights matrix. Often people use something like RICI.
RICI, what's that?
It clarifies for any given task or decision who is responsible for doing the work, who is ultimately accountable for the outcome, who needs to be consulted beforehand, and who just needs to be informed after the fact.
Ah, okay. So it makes it super clear who owns what decision, who needs input from whom. That avoids those turf wars.
Exactly. Structural clarity is a form of preventative peace building, which leads to the next big idea from the sources. Proactive strategies. Don't just manage crises. Build systems that promote health before things break.
Turning crisis management into like ongoing spiritual or organizational formation.
You got it. How do we build peace before the conflict even starts?
Okay.
A key strategy is using conflict prevention covenants. These are short, clear agreements, ideally discussed and signed when a team or group first forms.
What goes in them?
Basic relational ground rules. Things like, we commit to assuming the best intent in each other. We commit to speaking directly to the person we have an issue with, not about them. We commit to staying in relationship even when we disagree strongly.
So you establish the how we fight fair rules up front, sets the culture.
Exactly. It normalizes direct, healthy communication before a crisis puts it to the test.
And how do you know if that culture is actually working or if things are starting to fray?
Regular relational health checks, simple pulse surveys, maybe brief anonymous check-ins asking about trust, communication, psychological safety.
So you get an early warning sign.
Yeah, you detect stress early. And then this is key. You act quickly if the relational thermometer reads yellow or red. Don't wait. Maybe launch targeted listening sessions within, say, 14 days to understand what's going on. These proactive steps build resilience right into the team's DNA.
That makes sense. Build the muscles before you need them. Now, before we wrap up, we need to circle back to that really important caveat you mentioned earlier. When does this push for unity, for reconciliation, hit a limit?
Right. It's crucial. Unity is vital, it's a deep calling, but it is never a mandate to tolerate abuse or manipulation or patterns of destructive behavior that consistently cause harm and show no sign of repentance.
So reconciliation isn't the goal at all costs.
No. In situations of ongoing harm, unrepentant patterns, or clear abuse, separation might actually be the most faithful, loving, and protective course of action. Protecting the vulnerable always, always comes first. Reconciliation can't be built on enabling further injury.
That's a critical boundary, thank you.
Yeah.
So this whole deep dive, it paints conflict like a loom, maybe, drawing together all these threads: fear, truth, pride, passion.
Yeah, I like that image. And the question isn't how to avoid the threads, because you can. The question is, will they get tangled into a mess that tears everything apart?
Or can we learn to weave them intentionally
Yeah.
into something stronger? A cord of grace, purpose, deeper connection.
That's the invitation. And the sources are intensely practical about this. Mastering conflict resolution isn't just a nice-to-have skill. It's essential for building communities, teams, families that can actually weather storms and thrive.
So for you listening, what's one immediate step you can take this week based on everything we've discussed?
We're calling it the Courageous Conversation Starter. Just 3 quick steps. 1, identify. Think right now. Is there one relationship, at work or home, that feels strained because of unaddressed tension? Pinpoint it.
Okay.
2, script. Just jot down those 4 parts we talked about for that specific situation. Start with affirmation, state the observable fact, name the impact on you, think about your concrete request, maybe even own your part. Just get it down on paper.
Got it.
3, request. This week, ask for a brief, low-stakes chat. Maybe say something like, hey, could we talk for a few minutes sometime this week? There was something in the meeting I wanted to discuss because I really value our collaboration. Keep it simple.
Identify, script, request. Simple but not easy.
Definitely not easy. Takes courage.
Which brings us to the final thought. What opportunity are you missing right now? What potential for deeper collaboration, stronger trust, a more resilient mission is locked up simply because you're avoiding a necessary hard conversation? Maybe it's time to lean into that tension, use these tools, and start weaving.